I've just seen the Wallace celebration.
We can say that the Eagle fly very high tonight. Alistair McKenzie, hello, how are you after this great performance of Lazio?
Yeah, very high. Yeah, it was a really great performance, and I'd say second only to the game against Genoa, but perhaps we could say even better than the game against Genoa, given the team we were up against and that it was an away game. I mean, it was a really, really encouraging performance and is a big step towards getting into the next round.
Marusic, Wallace, Caicedo, the three scorers today. I don't know which surprised you more, because, well, it's funny to say that Caicedo is the one you could expect, seeing how he's playing this year, but Wallace and Marusic, who surprised you more tonight?
The goal, without doubt, that surprised me the most was Marusic, just because we know he's not been at his best this season, and when I saw him, he kind of paused on the edge of the box, and as soon as he cut inside onto his left foot and was shaping to shoot, I just thought, I was just waiting to see that fly into the stands or out for a throw-in. I was honestly so surprised when that went into the goal. I jumped out of the sofa in astonishment. So,
top corner.
It was unbelievable goal, though. Yeah, I mean, to be fair to the guy, on his weaker foot, it was quite something.
Top right corner. I mean, it was an amazing goal. Surprising. I have to say that I was watching the match and saying Marusic is really playing well tonight. He's really top form, motivated. He's running a lot. He's not only running, but he's also passing well the ball, putting nice ball in, etc. So you can see there was something different in Marusic tonight. Yeah,
and I suppose that might have been down to the fact that he's been given the extra motivation because he wasn't playing against Parma. Patrick was in his place, and then tonight Caicedo was given that responsibility. So, his place at one point was pretty untouchable in this team, and it isn't anymore. And maybe even his celebration of that goal, you could say, was a reaction to that as well. He was immediately doing the whole shushing the crowd, hands to the ears kind of celebration. And it's kind of proved a lot of us wrong who've been critical of him to a certain extent. I still think that it doesn't necessarily mean that he's now an automatic first choice now that he's scored a nice goal, but it's definitely a step in the right direction, and hopefully he turns out to be a kind of player who does respond well to that kind of competition for his place in the team.
Yes, this type of goals can change your season. It was an important goal because Lazio was struggling after dominating the match. So it arrived at a very important time, and it was, as we were saying, an astonishing goal, how he scored. So, those are those type of goals that can really change your season, give you extra motivation, extra confidence. So, I think it was really important. But Alistair, it was a tough match. This was supposed to be a very complicated match. At the beginning of the group, when the draw was made, we were all thinking that this was going to be the toughest match of the season, of the group, playing abroad, playing away in France against Marseille, that has a very hot fan base, etc. And I mean, Lazio dominated till till Poyet score. I mean, they hardly have any chances, and in the first half, Lazio could have easily been up 3-0.
Absolutely, yeah. The first half performance was brilliant, and I think one thing Lazio did so well tonight was just their management of the game was excellent. They were in control of things throughout, and even when the Payet free kick went in, and you can't afford to give a player like that an opportunity from a dead ball. And to be honest, I thought we did quite well for it to take that long before he got an opportunity to shoot from that kind of distance. But yeah, Lazio controlled the game brilliantly and responded well as well to the injury to Lucas Leiva. I thought that was potentially going to be a pivotal moment in the game when he went off injured so early in the second half. And you can see his importance to the team quite quickly after he did go off. It wasn't a coincidence that after that point, Marseille began to break the defensive line more often and create more chances of their own. Marco Parolo's done his best, but he's not a natural in that position. But yeah, I mean, throughout the game, in control, creating a lot of chances, like you said, within the first half alone, they had enough chances to be about 3 goals up. And yeah, I said on Twitter at full time, or just before, that I'm convinced now after tonight that the Caicedo Immobile front two is the way to go. Now we've seen it working so fluidly, so effectively again. And I mentioned the Genoa performance at the start of the podcast. Both of Lazio's best games this season have been with those two up front. Lazio have looked their most dangerous, their most fluid. And also Caicedo's doing a lot more than just linking up play. He's doing that very well, but he's also adding goals to his game now more regularly too, and scored in both of those games I've mentioned. So for me, that's a huge positive. And if it was down to me, I'd be going with that again against Inter on Monday.
I was thinking something during the match. It's funny. It's a big quality of Simone Inzaghi. Every season, Lazio has a surprise. Last year was Luis Alberto. Let's not forget the first year at Lazio, he was pretty much invisible. And then last year, he became a superstar. Now, Caicedo, we can say it's a big surprise. Last year, he didn't convince. And now he's playing really well. As you were saying, he's scoring. He's providing a lot of assists. He's doing a lot. And he's proving to be, at the moment, probably the best option there to play near Ciro Immobile. And let's be honest, this is a big surprise for us. We were thinking about leaving Caicedo, hoping that Caicedo was leaving Lazio this summer, a little bit like we were thinking about Luis Alberto last year. And now he's proving to be not important, decisive, I think, in some matches like this one. Luis Alberto wasn't there because he was injured. We're gonna talk a little bit about that, I think, in this podcast. Caicedo was Correa couldn't play because he got the red card last match. There weren't very many options there, and Caicedo has proved to be really a positive option. Now the biggest question mark is, it looks like he came out because he was feeling a little bit of pain. I hope it was just tiredness, because Monday there's another very important match that is against Inter, and it would be good to have him. But again, what do you think all this surprise comes from? It's Simone Inzaghi very good in feeling who deserve to play. It's Iglitare picking the right players who maybe need a little bit of time to get confidence to this team. What's your thought, Alistair?
Well, I'm a firm believer, and this will sound a bit hypocritical because I have been critical of Caicedo. I think we all have, but and part of the reason for that was more that I didn't see him as a Vice Immobile, and what he's doing now isn't being a Vice Immobile. It's playing alongside him, which is a different role that's working well. But I do think that players who come into Serie A for the first time do deserve to have a second season to settle in the league. And I do think it's a bit frustrating when you hear people kind of write off players after one bad season. And you see it happen with other clubs quite often. I mean, for example, look at Andre Silva at Milan. He had a terrible season last year, but he's only just arrived in Italy. He's a young striker. Had a bad time. They didn't give him the time, didn't give him a second season. Now he's gone back to Spain and he's one of the top scorers in Europe again. So I do think that plays a part with both of the examples you've given. Luis Alberto definitely took a while to settle to Italy, to the Italian style of game, and once he kind of got a handle on it and worked out his best position, and his performances followed. And I think the same can be said with Felipe Caicedo. I mean, it's not an easy league for strikers to play in. We all know that, and
because we played there, right?
But I mean, he also, it's worth saying as well. I mean, Rami Algendi tagged me in took my attention to a stat on Twitter earlier that's worth bringing up, which is that Caicedo's actually had a hand in 7 goals, so 4 goals and 3 assists in 8 Europa League games at Lazio. So, although last season, for most of the time, he was pretty hopeless, he has made a contribution in these European games, and it's more been in Serie A where he's had his problems, but now he's sorting that out as well. So, I do think part of it is definitely that, players just need more than a year to understand their role in a team, probably.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, to be honest, as you were saying, last year in Europe League, Caicedo was playing really well. He did pretty much all the group matches to rest Ciro Immobile. And we remember he scored against Nice, and he played well in all the other matches. Then, going further in the competition, Inzaghi decided to play more Ciro Immobile, obviously. But, yeah, I mean, let's be honest. I wasn't convinced of keeping Caicedo, because I still believe he's not the visual Ciro Immobile, but he can play near Ciro Immobile, and he's proving it. He's probably now of the other option, Luis Alberto and Correa, maybe the best solution. Even though I want to see Correa starting with Ciro Immobile, I think it never happened, and every time he comes in, he plays really well. So I'm still willing to try Correa. Maybe he's going to start against Inter. We don't know. But you were talking about Rami. We opened this chat where you can leave us a message to say what you thought about the match or a question for us, and we're going to play it live. So Rami has been the first one who sent us the message. I hope this time everybody's going to be able to listen it. And here we go with Rami.
Hey guys, Rami here. A great night tonight. I really didn't expect this performance. I didn't expect to win. I didn't expect to score 3 goals, so it's a fantastic night. I think Caicedo played really well today. I think Wallace was very good today as well. So overall, very huge win, very big 3 points, and I think we're gonna qualify now to the second round. Bye guys.
Well, Alistair, I think nobody expected Lazio to win. Obviously, I think everybody hoped Lazio to win because, if you win away to Marseille, with Marseille at 1 point only, the qualification, it's much easier now. Lazio is at 6 points, Frankfurt is at 7, and Marseille and Apollon are 1. So it's much better now, the chances of Lazio to qualify. But did you expect Lazio to come here and win it?
Well, I wouldn't say expectation, I suppose. You've got to be a little bit kind of pragmatic and realistic in these European games. And like you said at the start of the show, Marseille was always earmarked as the most difficult away game in this group. I mean, that turned out to be Frankfurt, which was an utter disaster. But, Marseille away, it was never going to be easy. It was interesting to see even Iglitare before the game was interviewed and said that Lazio need to basically lay down a marker in this game and show a signal of what they're made of, and then that actually happened. But he said before the game that Lazio need at least a point. So I mean, he indicated beforehand that he was willing to accept that a draw would be a good result in this game. So yeah, to come away with a 3-1 win, but more than that, a 3-1 win that could have been even more handsome and was very well deserved. It's definitely exceeds expectations, I'd say.
I would say it was a very important match, especially after the defeat in Germany. It was a really important match. Playing like that in a so important match away and dominate the match because you were 2 up, dominate, Poyet score, and immediately after you react with another goal. I mean, this is probably the most encouraging thing of the night. How Lazio played as a big team, as a top team should do in this type of matches.
Yeah, and they also showed a willingness to adapt. I mean, I don't know about you, but I was quite encouraged by the way that Lazio played as the away team tonight, and they were quite happy. This is a team that is used to dictating the tempo of a game, and if you compare this performance tonight to the one on Sunday against Parma, it's like night and day. The first was a game in which the Parma game was one in which we were basically camped out in their half, trying to open it up a defence, and large spells of tonight was basically Lazio sitting back in a solid defensive block, waiting for Marseille to give the ball away and then hitting on the counter. So Lazio have shown within a week 2 very different sides to their game, both of which have been effective and both of which have ended up with 2-goal wins. So I mean, that for me was it was as an away performance. I'll bring it back to what I said at the start. I just think they managed the game very well. They were patient, they took their chances, they were creative, they were clinical, and they defended well. And there's not much you can do to defend the Dimitri Payet free kick. He's one of the best in the world at doing that from a dead ball. So, I think they got almost everything right tonight.
Yeah, I have to say that I didn't like Strakosha there. I thought he nearly stopped thinking he was hitting the bar, because otherwise he was there. I don't know. I'm not sure he touched the ball, but he nearly removed the hands there. I don't know if he was able to keep it out of the goal, but yeah, I didn't like Strakosha that way. But anyway, at the end, Lazio won, so that's positive. But Rami Algendi was saying even the performance of Wallace was a surprise. I think it's not the first goal with Lazio. He scored the first year. He played really well. I think the problem with Wallace is sometimes he's not very well positioned. But I think after the Juventus match, this was his best performance.
Yeah, it was great. I mean, it's the new hairdo, isn't it? It's clearly what we all need to do. I mean, Vittorio has pledged off air that he's going to go and get the same hairdo as Wallace.
I just did it yesterday.
You did it? Oh, he's already done it. Okay, well, you have to send us a video for the social media channels. Yeah. But it's clearly has an effect. It's increased his confidence, and his celebration told that story as well. So, he was really good. He did well defensively, and obviously got a goal as well. And as we know, he's a confidence player. So, I mean, we've said it before, time and again, really, and it's kind of the same story with Bastos, but probably a bit more so with Wallace, that he is fundamentally a good player. He is a good defender. The problem with him is just that his concentration is his biggest issue, and he's always going to make mistakes occasionally, and when he does, they're really bad. So I think we just have to enjoy these moments when they come. I don't think it's a turning point. I think we've had too many of these moments with Wallace to say that, he's played this well in this game, that means that he's going to kick on from here. I do still expect that he'll make some terrible mistakes before the end of the season. But, we have to give him credit where it's due, and tonight he had a very good game.
You know what? I think Wallace is very dangerous when he has the ball on his feet. Even tonight, where he played well, he still made 2 terrible passes that allowed Marseille to have a counter-attack, because obviously if the defense passes you the ball, then that's where I'm scared of Wallace. Not when he has to mark a man, but when he has the ball on his feet.
Yeah, that's true. And after the Fiorentina game, we talked about him a fair bit after that disaster pass to Marco Benassi.
Yeah. He tried to did the same tonight. Did you notice?
Well, not quite so bad, but yeah, it was another really poorly judged pass, and yeah, that's definitely his biggest weakness is making those decisions at the wrong time. And I said after the Fiorentina game, and I stand by it now, that basically he's just not a player who's going to ever be comfortable in a team that plays out from the back and like Lazio do. And I think if he was playing in a back four in a team that played more direct football, I think he would do a lot better in a team like that. So that's fundamentally the reason I don't think he's ever going to be a star at Lazio, is because he'll always be asked to pass the ball. He'll always be asked to control the ball, and that's where these mistakes are made. Whereas if he was in a team where his job was basically get rid of the ball, I think he'd be a lot more comfortable and you'd see his defensive qualities more.
Patrick Bowman says, Lazio win, whiskey and sunset on its way, Lazio lounge in my ears, life is good sometimes. I don't know where you are, Patrick, but I'm really jealous. And he asked us two questions. Is Inzaghi the right man to take Lazio to the new heights? And is there any stats on the long ball passes from Strakosha? I feel we lost 9 out of 10. I think that Inzaghi is a very young coach and he's learning. He's learning through the process. So I think he's the type of manager that is improving going forward. I thought the first year he was good but made some mistakes and he learned from that. And as well in the last year. So I think there is a chance that Lazio and Inzaghi can grow together and eventually fight for the Scudetto. But I think that to fight for the Champions League or the Scudetto, etc., the players are the key. I mean, you can give Guardiola manage the Benevento. He's never going to win the Scudetto, and he probably will never reach the Champions League of the Europe League. Obviously, you have to have the right manager and the right players. So I think Inzaghi is a great manager. You saw how he prepared well the last two matches. And I still think that there are a lot of individual errors, and that's not something you can blame the manager out for that. So, don't know, Alistair, what's your thought about this?
Yeah, well, first of all, thanks, Patrick, for sending us this picture. It's utterly sickening. He's on a beach somewhere with the sun and a nice whiskey. It looks amazing. Anyway, I think to answer that question, you have to kind of define what you think of as being new heights for Lazio. Because for me, new heights for Lazio is Champions League football. That's where we start. For me, I'm not talking about Scudetto challenge. That's too distant and unrealistic. And if you're answering that question of who's going to be the man to take Lazio back to the Champions League, because don't forget, we've not been in the Champions League for, 11 years now.
Too long.
So that's a big achievement for whichever Lazio coach manages to get us there. And yes, I absolutely 100% think he's the man to do that, because this is the first time in the Lotito era, probably, that there's been a genuine sense that there's the club and the fans together are both behind one coach and his project. Before now, it's been far too often that you have one good season, then form will slip off and the coach will get fired and you start again. And we've seen this, Eddie Rea, Petkovic, Pioli. We've been through so many coaches, basically, who have had good times, good spells at the club, but then whenever things have gone slightly badly, it's been torn up and had to start again. Sometimes those decisions have been correct, sometimes maybe a bit more patience was needed. With Inzaghi, though, I think he's a universally popular guy. He's popular with the players and they respect him, they understand him. He also knows the club so well because of his long relationship with it. The fans love him because of that relationship with the club, and also the guys within the club love him too because he's turned out to be the bargain of the century for them. He wasn't even really supposed to get the job in the first place, and he's turned out to be one of the best Lazio coaches. I'd say probably the best Lazio coach of Lotito's era. So I think if anyone's going to get us into the top four with this kind of group of players, it's going to be him. And if anyone out there genuinely thinks that there's a coach on the market who Lazio are going to be able to get, who we could swap him for right now, who's going to get us there in front of Inzaghi, I'll listen to that suggestion, but I don't see it.
Well, and one of the secret I believe of Simone Inzaghi is he's a Lazio fan and he knows really, really well the Lazio atmosphere. He knows, how the fan react in certain situation. How big some matches are, etc. So that's something that helps him. And I think, when you're managing your team, you put some extra effort, and you can see it. You can see it from Simone Inzaghi. He's doing really, really a great job. Let's not forget that in the past year, Lazio didn't have a great team. We had very good players, but often the option we had on the bench weren't great. I think this changed a little bit this year, and I think this match and Parma's match, Lazio won it also with the subs. Berisha come in against Parma and immediately changed the match, and same thing Correa. Tonight, Marusic come in. You lose Leiva, Marusic come in, and he scored the final goal. So having more option, still, let's be honest, we don't have the option Juventus have, but I don't think anybody has it in Serie A. But I think, giving him more option, more players, more quality players, will show the real talent of Simone Inzaghi.
Yeah, and I think the club showed that they do back him and they have faith in him by investing in quality players to add strength to the squad and the overall depth of the squad in the summer. And that's not always something that they've been willing to do. I see Rami's disagreeing with me and thinks that
big surprise.
Inzaghi's behind Petkovic and Pioli. I don't understand that, to be honest.
Can I say? Sorry. I totally disagree with Pioli. Petkovic, I'm not sure. He had 6 great months and probably that wasn't a great team. But Pioli, no. Pioli played the same level, the same football. An example, at the derby, Rudi Garcia dominated Pioli. He completely outmatched him. He he wanted to attack. He put all the team in defense and counter-attacked and destroyed Lazio. That was, at that time, much better than Roma. Pioli simply is not a great manager. And I think, you can see it with Fiorentina. When he has this team with no pressure, young talent, but really nothing big to achieve, he's good. But when he needs to step forward, I don't think he's a great manager. Sorry, Alistair, to interrupt you.
No, thank you. I mean, I think the point was Pioli's team was a nice team, and he got Lazio into the Champions League playoffs, which is closer than we've that's closer than we've come otherwise. And Petkovic, he benefits from the Coppa Italia win over Roma, which, don't get me wrong, was one of the best, probably the best moment of my Lazio supporting life. But overall, his overall record still isn't as good as Inzaghi's. So you're talking about a coach who last season set records for the most wins, most points, most goals scored. I mean, the records that were set last season were phenomenal. And on top of that, he's taken Lazio to European quarter-final. And this team just keeps getting better. I'm a big fan, basically.
We didn't know this. To answer the final question of Patrick, I think Strakosha got wrong all the long passes tonight. I think at a certain point he stopped looking for Milinkovic-Savic and simply kick it away. But yeah, I don't like it. And every time I see Lazio defender passing back the ball to Strakosha, I'm already upset because we already know what's going to happen, and it's a ball wasted. Not blaming Strakosha, but if you can play through the defenders, it's a better option.
Yeah, there was a moment tonight where Strakosha took a goal kick and it went, and he tried to get it to Caceres on the right wing, and it went over Caceres' head and landed kind of at Inzaghi's feet. And so the camera went to Inzaghi, and you could just see him kind of throwing his arms up in the air in frustration, and I don't blame him because it's been going on for a long time now. This problem with his distribution, and it's one thing when it's the ball is being played around the back and pressure is being put on him for his distribution. You can maybe forgive him that, but for his dead ball delivery to still be inaccurate, it's just not good enough. It's a skill you can just practice and takes repetition. So it's a big issue with his game. But look, I mean, Strakosha for me has been one of our best players this season. I think he's really stepped up. I think he took a bit of a dip last year. I don't think he was necessarily at the levels that he was in some games, but consistently wasn't at the high level he was before. But this year, I think he's won us points by himself. I mean, think about the Empoli game. He's been extraordinary at times. So I don't want to be too critical of him, but that's definitely his biggest flaw.
Were you surprised he played instead of Proto tonight? Because
Yeah,
Proto looks to
I wanted
be
to talk about.
the Europe League goalkeeper, right? And instead, yesterday Inzaghi said it in the press conference. I'm not sure who's playing goal. I was a little bit surprised, honestly. Yes, Proto didn't do nothing spectacular against Frankfurt, but I still thought he should have played tonight.
Yeah, I was really surprised about this, and I was thinking about that before the game because I just don't think it sends the right message either. Because if you're gonna, Proto's only had 2 games, and look, the Frankfurt game we lost 4-1, but I don't think you can really blame the goalkeeper for what happened in that game, particularly for any of the goals or the fact that we went down to 9 men. So I think he was brought in to be the cup goalkeeper, something we didn't really have last season, or at least something that Inzaghi wasn't willing to give to to Guerrieri or any of the younger guys. So it strikes me, I don't know, what does Proto think if he's come into this team to be the number 2 with the promise of playing in cup games, and then when it comes to an important one, Marseille away, Inzaghi says, well, actually, no, I'd rather stick with Strakosha. I don't really trust you for this one. I don't know. For me, it doesn't really send out the right message, and I don't think he necessarily deserved it, considering that he in the 2 games he's had, he's not really done much wrong.
Yep, I was surprised, honestly. I think the message was it's a very important message. Match. Sorry, I try to play my best team available, so that's why Proto didn't play. But yep, I mean, I'm trying to understand what Inzaghi was thinking. Talking about Inzaghi, Mayer Abu Arya saying yes, Inzaghi is the right man if and only if he learns from his mistakes. And as you can see, he's making an adjustment. No more Luis Alberto is a huge change for him. All his off-season work and plans were built on Luis. Bravo Inzaghi. We have to talk about Luis Alberto. I really believe that he's playing badly because he has a injury. Now, there hasn't been any official statement from Lazio. Inzaghi yesterday said Luis Alberto is not coming with us because he said he wasn't feeling well yesterday. What's your thought, Alistair, on this?
Yeah, what is happening here? It's really confusing. I mean, the news this week that's been reported is that he has this sports hernia injury, this pelvic problem.
Yep.
Which you've kindly translated and told me. I don't understand these medical terms. But yeah, so it's for this to suddenly come out, this I did a little bit of Wikipediaing of this condition earlier, and it's quite serious. It's something that can keep athletes out for quite a long time and restrain their kind of their ability to run or to kick. And I don't know, it seems a bit strange that if this is the issue he's got, and if it's the issue he's been struggling with up until now, why it's just been kept so quiet, why it's been a secret. And now there were reports that this was what this ex-Liverpool physio came in over the international break to help him with. And then you wonder, well, if that's the case, why was he playing against Parma? Why was he in the team? and then now he's been dropped, but he's not necessarily being put on the injury list. The whole thing is very strange.
Absolutely. And, the problem here is that there's not really something you can do for that type of injury. You just have to give him rest. He can even play on it, but obviously he won't be able to play well because he feels pains. But again, why not saying it? Why keep this mystery? It's something that I don't understand, especially because fans don't know it, and so they complain about his performance, obviously. So if it's that, then I don't see nothing wrong in saying, hey, Luis Alberto has this problem. If there's something else, well, just say it so that we understand what's going on with a player that was fundamental last year. So it's an important player for this team.
Yeah, and apparently the only reason that this is now being reported is that he himself told journalists this was the issue, which is, pretty bizarre. If no one at the clubs or the club doctors or anyone else has actually been able to say what's wrong with him, and then he's had to go on it himself. I mean, like you say, it reflects badly on him when he has bad games, but if he's struggling with a problem that's causing him a lot of pain during matches, then fans will have more sympathy for him. And Alberto as well, it's one of the players you wouldn't want this to happen to, because we know he's a confidence player and he plays a lot better when he has the feeling of everyone being behind him. So, it's the same thing. We talked about Iglitari's comments about him recently, and one of the things he said was that Alberto likes to feel like he's indispensable to the team. And, if he's getting criticised, he's not going to take it well. And it's a bit harsh on him if that criticism's coming while he's struggling with a real problem, but we just haven't been made aware of it.
Yeah, I totally agree. So we have to see. Yeah, it's a mystery. Let's see if someone says something in the coming days, because obviously it's really important. The Lazio doctor, spoke at Lazio style after the match, and he said that Leva has a little muscle problem, so they will have some exam in the next 48 hours. But all the others player, there's no problem. So Caicedo, he has nothing. Probably he was just tired. That's why he asked to be changed. But the problem with Leva is that there's even Badel that is still injured. Here it says that it has a problem to the right adductor. So don't know how long will it take to recover. But yeah, there's a big chance that Badel won't be able to play against Inter Monday.
Well, what I wanted to ask you is, if that's the case and we're missing Lucas and Badel, how would you see that team setting up? I mean, one thing we did see tonight, which I think we only have once so far this season, was Danilo Cataldi coming on the pitch, and I thought he did quite well. He's a very tidy player, he's a very technical player. And Marco Parolo going into Lucas' position, which he did on Sunday as well. So I suppose Parolo would be the favourite to go into that Lucas role, but I don't know, in such a big game, it doesn't fill me with confidence.
Well, if you don't have any other options, I think having Parolo, who has experience, could be the best option, especially if Badel and Leva are both injured. I have to be honest, I wanted to talk about Cataldi. I was really happy to see him playing. And what I like about him is the extra effort he was putting tonight. He was running all the way around. You said he's a tidy player. I think he has great quality. And you can see that when he's playing for Lazio, at least now, he's putting something extra in it. He was chasing every player. He didn't do nothing special, to be honest, but as well, he was always there in the right position, running, trying to take off the ball from the Marseille player. I thought, obviously, he didn't play that much, but the minutes he played very well, and I hope this is just the start of the season. yeah, he was playing because Lazio had a lot of players out in the midfield, but it's still good to see Inzaghi give him a chance. Honestly, when Leva came out, I was thinking that Cataldi was coming in instead of Marusic.
I kind of thought that that he would put Berisha in at that point and put Parolo back, but you know, Berisha is interesting that he mentioned he might do this in the press conference, and it was interesting to see him do it at the end of the game to push him up behind the striker. And you know, we were talking about Caicedo earlier, and the funny thing is he's no longer considered a Vice Immobile. He's now considered yet another option as a player to play alongside Immobile. So we've now got Correa and Alberto and Caicedo, but now Berisha seems to be a fourth option. And then you've got Milinkovic-Savic, who can also play up there if you need him to. So I don't know where. For me, I from what I've seen from Berisha so far, I would like to see him more in the centre of midfield, you know, in one of the Metzala positions rather than in a number 10 position. I don't know about you.
I think it's a type of player who can play well in different positions, but especially now with Leva out, I think he's more needed there. So it would be interesting to see how Inzaghi is going to play it, even because I have to be honest, I didn't like the performance of Milinkovic-Savic, and he was too soft in a couple of tackles, and there you need to be strong, and I thought Berisha has those type of quality, and especially if you're playing Parolo instead in the position of Luca Leiva, you need another strong midfielder like Berisha.
Yeah, I agree. I really like his aggression. That's a really good thing to have in that midfield, and you know, you can't rely on Lucas Leiva. I wouldn't really call Lucas an aggressive player, but he's definitely a clever player, and he knows when to commit fouls and when to, you know, be physical and when to step off. But Berisha's a real physical presence in that midfield, and yeah, like you say, I don't think, although Milinkovic-Savic is physically such a big guy and a big player, he doesn't really use his body weight in challenges all that often. So yeah, I'd like to see Berisha in there, you know, fighting to win the ball, and then he's also good with the ball at his feet, and he knows how to pick a pass and move it forward.
Yeah, I think as I was saying, he's a very quality player who can be really important for this team this season. I think he's a great signing, so it's going to be really, really important for this club. And the other thing you were mentioning is that tonight Rossi was the only option to replace Ciro Immobile. In some way, I'm happy because I was hoping to give Rossi a chance. In the other one, is scaring because what happens if against Inter Immobile gets injured or needs to be substitute? Do you bring Rossi in a such important match?
Well, I mean, I think you put Caicedo up there, although it's clearly not his best role as leading the line. But I think on the form he's on, he deserves to be the second choice still in that position. I kind of hoped to see Rossi tonight, and I thought that we might have had a chance of seeing him. You know, given how well the performance was going, there was a 2-goal lead, and at the end I realised I was kind of shouting at the TV at one point, "Oh, come on, Inzaghi, bring on Rossi, give him 10 minutes," and then I realised he'd already made all 3 substitutions. So, yeah, but I think he needs that kind of game, you know, that kind of opportunity. I don't think Inzaghi's going to risk him unless he's in a game where he's got a kind of 2-goal cushion and there's not long left. I think he needs those kind of circumstances for Inzaghi to be willing to give him a chance. I might be wrong, but that's the impression I get.
Yeah, and tonight, I mean, I was already happy to see Cataldi playing. I think he deserved to play, and it was really positive. Maybe we're going to see Rossi in another match. Inzaghi's talking about Marseille fan assaulting Lazio Pullman. I didn't know about that. He said that entering in the stadium wasn't nice because they throw stones and bottles to our Pullman, to a bus near the stadium. That was annoying, but the players responded well.
Yeah, there's been all sorts going on since yesterday. Clashes between fans. There's been Marseille ultras going to the hotel Lazio fans are staying in and putting severed pigs' heads on the railings outside. There's been Marseille fans fighting with police before the game. I mean, it's supposedly a kind of historic ultras rivalry, but you know, it all just seems a bit ridiculous to me in this day and age to go around doing this. And you know, I feel sorry for the Lazio fans who've gone to watch this game and want to just follow their team and aren't interested in any of this ultras political nonsense and just want to watch the match. And there's a kind of manhunt going on the streets of Marseille where they're looking for Lazio fans to fight. It's horrible. But I mean, it keeps happening everywhere. You know, on Tuesday I was doing the Roma CSK Moscow game, and the same thing was happening in Rome. It wasn't covered as much in the media, I'll tell you that, but there were Roma fans fighting CSKA fans. 2 CSKA fans were stabbed by Roma fans in fights, and yeah, these things keep happening, unfortunately.
You lost your touch, by the way.
Yeah, I know.
I have, before
they did lose to Spal on Saturday, but I wasn't there though.
But you weren't there, so it doesn't count. Simone Inzaghi said that Milinkovic had an incredible match. He was really important in both phases, attacking and defending. It's normal that we expect a lot from him because last year he made often the decisive performance. But he gives a lot of quantity as well. He runs 12 kilometers for match. Today he touched a lot of balls, recovered a lot of balls. Even at Parma, he was amazing. I have to say I liked him more against Parma than tonight. I don't agree totally with what Inzaghi said.
Well, I think he had a good game, and I think that Inzaghi wants to make sure he picks him out for praise when he deserves it, because like you said there, the expectations of him are very high, and it would be unfair to only praise him when he's at a world-class 120 million euro man performance. I think it's fair to be able to say he's had a good game when he's had a good game, and yeah, he was good tonight. You know, he's not going to be the guy who takes any of the headlines, and he's not done anything spectacular, but he did his job and he did it well, like most of the players on the pitch. So yeah, I think that perhaps is the problem, is just that his hype is so high now, and there's so much expected of him because of the heights of last season, and there's still a lot more to come from him. Don't get me wrong. We have a right to expect more from him because we know he's capable of it. But at the same time, I think that Inzaghi has every right to say well done to him when he thinks he's done a good job. So, yeah, I think it's fair enough.
Well, I honestly, I didn't think he had a great match. Just want to point it out. But I think, and I forgot to mention it last podcast, I thought the second goal of Lazio, you could see all the skill of Milinkovic, because you know it's the last minute of the match. You're already very tired, and you're able to fight for the ball and make a great assist for Ciro Immobile. So there you can see the quality of Milinkovic-Savic tonight. He played well, but nothing amazing, honestly.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was saying though. He didn't do anything amazing, but I think he did his job well. It was fine. It wasn't outstanding, but it wasn't bad. So I don't know what more to say. I don't think that Inzaghi's right in saying he was incredible, but if he wants to give him praise, then hopefully I don't know. He's just trying different things to help him get back to his best.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Maybe a big game could help. Inter is. The eyes of the world are going to be on that game because it's on a Monday night as well. So it's not just a big game in Serie A, but it's going to have a big audience, TV wise as well as hopefully in the crowd. And I don't know. We need our big players to step up in a match like that, and hopefully that can be a moment for him.
Yep, well, let's hope so. I mean, it's time for him to shine, I think. So it would be good to see him playing well against Inter and, see how finally the real Milinkovic-Savic. Inzaghi said that the injury of Leva could not be so serious and he could play against Inter next Monday. Let's cross finger. By the way, we receive another audio message. This time is from Marseille. I hope it works.
Good evening, Martin speaking. The match we've been waiting for a long time. Very mature and well-organized team. Outstanding Levant Parolo. His sprint in additional time to secure the defense really impressed. And Forza Lazio, greetings.
Yeah, Marseille was talking about, the organization. I think Inzaghi, as I was saying before, prepared really, really well this match. And I think this is something that he have improved, talking about how much Inzaghi have improved. This is one of the things I think he improved more. He's preparing better the matches. It's true that he has a very good staff. Faris is very good in that. So that's someone who helps him. But I think that he prepared very well the match. And obviously, Parolo is a key player for Lazio. Not only because his experience, he's a box-to-box player, but as we saw today, he can play in different positions, and if Leva goes out, he can play even there. Even though it's not his position and probably it's not where he's playing best, he had another great performance. And I don't think it's a coincidence that when Parolo plays well, Lazio plays well as well.
Yeah, he's a great player. I think he's underrated outside of the Lazio sphere, really. I think most Lazio fans do appreciate him and the importance he has to this team, the balance he provides to this midfield. But outside of that, I don't think there are too many fans of other teams who really appreciate how good a player he is, particularly given his age. Yeah, and in regards to the preparation of the match, yeah, absolutely. That was one of the first things I said tonight in the podcast. I just think that they showed a different side to their game, the capability to play so compactly in defence and counter-attack effectively, creating a lot of chances, but also making sure that everything stayed very tight at the back. And they seemed aware of the dangers that Marseille would pose and were capable of minimising those dangers. So I think, tactically, we have to give Inzaghi and his team a lot of credit tonight. I think they got things spot on.
You know what's going to happen tomorrow? We're going to read that the group of Lazio was very easy. That Marseille is.
I knew you'd say this. I was wondering how long it would take you.
You know it's going to happen, At the beginning, when the draw is out, it's a very competitive draw. It's very good. It's going to be really tough for Lazio. Now that Lazio's there, they're going to say, yeah, but Marseille is not very good. Frankfurt, it's a decent team. Apollon, come on. It's going to happen, I'm just waiting. I'm sure tomorrow they're going to talk about it. Anyway, 6 November, if I'm not wrong, it's going to be probably the most important match because Lazio's playing at home against Olympique Marseille. 8 November, sorry guys. 7 o'clock kickoff. And that could be really the decisive match. If Lazio win there, the qualification is pretty much done for Lazio. It's just going to be a matter of first or second place. So Lazio has a big chance because winning there would mean passing the group phase, and then you have the last match at home with Frankfurt, who could decide the first place. Again, that would be really, really important, thinking about all the team that will drop from the Champions League. So still two important matches for Lazio in Europe League, but great performance, great result, especially after the defeat in Frankfurt. So really, really pleased for this performance. We didn't have the chance to talk about Inter that is coming Monday, but we have to do a podcast, not a radio show of all 6 hours. So I think we can wrap it up here. Again, guys, if you like sending audio message, now you have the chance. We are more than happy to broadcast you live. Of course, if the message is short, 30 seconds is perfect. And you can follow us on Twitter, on Facebook, subscribe to our iTunes podcast, and please, if you like the show, rate and review. It's really important for us. And if you want to support us, you have a Patreon page, patreon.com/Lazio Lounge. Alistair, do you have something else to add?
No, I think I'm done for tonight. I'm very happy. Gonna go to bed with a smile on my face.
Okay, I'm happy about that, and I'm happy about our friend Patrick Bowman, who is enjoying his life in Tampa. Enjoy the rest of the day, and enjoy the sun even for us that are here in the cold Europe. Thank you, everybody, and we're gonna talk Monday, not Sunday, because Lazio is playing Monday night. Thank you again for listening, and always Forza Lazio.